Homeowners are getting their power back from HOAs. New laws have gone into effect in California, Florida, North Carolina, Minnesota, and this is limiting the power of the HOAs, which in turn means less fines and less fees. Hallelujah. This could really be a huge help with housing affordability. So I'm going to talk to you about some of these laws that went into place. I'm also going to share with you a story about a woman in California and what she experienced with her HOA, just to give you an example. I'm also going to answer that burning question as to why more and more communities are having HOAs. People have been coming to me. They said they want to buy new construction, but why are there all these HOAs? I'm going to talk about that too. So let's get started. Look, I'm not here to throw shade to HOAs. They do have their purpose. But what's been happening lately is these HOAs are taking on like too much power, right? And they're imposing ridiculous fines on people, making affordability really challenging. So I wanted to talk about some of these new laws that are going into place and just to give people hope that there is reform coming to these HOAs. And I think it's a great thing. But first, let me tell you about the story about this woman in California. She bought a condo in Ventura County and she was renovating the interior of her condo. And there was a defect on the doorway inside the condo. Note the key word here, inside. This is inside her condo. So when she went to the HOA to let them know she was doing the renovations and she needed to remove this block on this door. You see the picture here. So she wanted to have this removed. And of course, the HOA gave her a hard time about it. And they said, no, you can't do that. So the HOA found out that she went ahead and did it anyway. So they hit her with a $100 fine. So she paid the $100 fine and said, okay, fine. She thought it was over with. Period. End of story. She then received a legal letter from the HOA stating that she needed to use the HOA's contractors to alter the door back to the way it was. Otherwise, they were going to impose a fine of $500 per day. Per day. Are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
So this is just one example of the heavy-handedness of these HOAs. So in California, they just passed a new law called AB 130. And what's in this law is HOA fine reform, which, by the way, went into effect July 1st of this year. This bill limits fines to $100 per violation unless there is a bona fide health and safety risk to, say, a common area or to other homeowners. Then the HOA can choose to impose a higher fine. But they have to provide their findings as to how serious the issue is and how dangerous or how much it will impact health and safety to the residents of the community. The law also states that if homeowners do correct a violation before a disciplinary hearing, they don't get hit with a fine. The law also bans late fees and interest on fines, which is key. It's also granting homeowners the right to an internal dispute resolution if they don't agree with the board's decision. Now, unfortunately for this woman, she can't take advantage of this law because this went into effect July 1st. So it states that any violations that are in place prior to June 30th of this year, you still have to pay those fines. But from July 1st moving forward, this law is in effect. And I think this is great news for people who live in HOAs in California. And by the way, if you are thinking about buying a home that's in an HOA or not in an HOA, or if you need to sell a home and you need to be connected to a real estate agent in your market, I offer a free service and I can help you find that agent. Scan the QR code right here, or you can click the link down below, fill out the form, and I will get back to you with an agent in your market. Also, if you are thinking about selling or buying a home here in Northern New Jersey and you would like to work with myself and my team, there's another link down below. Click that and I'll be happy to set up a Zoom consultation call with you. Okay, moving on to Florida. Florida's doing the same thing. Florida put in laws in place which limits the punitive powers, and it's also increasing transparency of these HOAs. So as of 2024, Florida enacted legislation it restricts HOAs from fining residents over trivial violations, such as leaving your garbage cans out for too long, and also for having your holiday decorations up for too long. Yeah, this is a thing. HOAs fine people over these stupid little things. They also have another law that went into effect last year, which bars HOAs from fining homeowners from parking vehicles in their driveways. For example, work vehicles. This is a thing. I know people are probably like, well, are you kidding me? Yeah, even up here in Jersey, we have some communities around here where they don't want people parking their work vehicles like in their driveway or like in the public parking. Like it's just, oh my God, it's dumb, dumb. Also, in that law that Florida has enacted, it also protects homeowners from HOAs foreclosing on their homes. This is a thing. It's a thing. There have been stories of HOAs foreclosing on homes. So thank God Florida put something in place to prevent HOAs from doing that. North Carolina, they're doing the same thing. North Carolina has a reform bill that's capping excessive HOA fines. It's banning HOAs from profiting off of penalty violations. Oh yeah, that's a thing too. And also in that bill, it has additional safeguards to protect homeowners from foreclosures. I can't believe we have a bill to prevent HOAs from foreclosing on properties. Unbelievable. Going on over to Minnesota, Minnesota Senate just passed a bill, the SF 1750, and that's advancing to the House. And that's the same thing. They're capping the HOA fines, requiring board members to declare conflicts of interest. It's requiring multiple bids on large repair contracts in the community. It also prevents cities from requiring HOAs as a condition for a new community development. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Also in that bill, it introduces a process where they can dissolve inactive HOAs. So let's talk about the burning question as to why are there so many HOA communities popping up around this country? We see all these new construction projects and they all have HOAs. Why? Why? Because cities are requiring, like what Minnesota's law is saying, that they're preventing cities within their state to require that. This is what's happening around the country. Cities are requiring these large developments, right? Think about some of these developments can be, 400 or 500 homes, right? The city doesn't want to take on that burden. It's a financial burden to them. There are also legal and liability issues that they need to deal with. They don't want to deal with that, right? So regarding like infrastructure in these new communities, cities do not want to be involved with that. It's costly for them. Then let's talk about the amenities. They want the HOAs to have their own amenities because so a city will have their own like parks and public pools and things like that. And again, it's costing them. So if you're building these new homes and you have all these new communities popping up, that's bringing in more people. That's going to be, adding more people using these public facilities. They'd rather have these communities have their own HOA, their own amenities to relieve the city from the burden of having all these extra people now utilizing these services in the city. Devil's advocate, there's two sides to every story, right? You can see the pros and cons and understand the position of both, why the cities would want it and, why you shouldn't have it, right? Because HOAs, again, they can be problematic if you have a board that's too heavy-handed. So I think it's a good idea that we're having these laws put into place to limit the power of these HOAs. Now, again, I'm not 100% against an HOA. I'm not. I've owned properties that are in HOAs. I don't appreciate some of the rules that they have in place, like going back to the law in Florida regarding, leaving your garbage can out for too long. I'm a victim of that, right? I owned a property. I talk about it all the time. I had a property down in Delaware that I was renting out. My tenants left their garbage can out too long after the garbage had been picked up. HOA Karen was driving around a neighborhood and I get an email of a picture of my garbage cans out in front of the place. And they said, this is your first warning. If you don't put these cans in within a reasonable amount of time, you're going to be fined, whatever it was, like $200, some stupid thing like that. I'm like, are you kidding me?
What?
So things like that, that's ridiculous. And I get it. We want to have a nice looking community. People move into these HOA communities because they want to have their yards looking nice. They want everything look aesthetically pleasing. I understand that and I'm fully supportive of that. If you're going to put these rules in place on residents, cut people some slack, okay? So I like that they're putting limits on these rules on these HOAs. I'm sorry, because it is ridiculous. Because look, housing affordability is a big issue in this country right now. And now if you have people buying new homes in these communities and the HOAs are slapping fines on everybody, and then you have to worry about the HOA hitting you with fines for like minimal violations, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So if you're thinking about buying a home in an HOA, read the bylaws, read the rules before you even make that purchase and fully understand what's expected of you if you're going to be living in that community and just be prepared for that. And if that's not your thing and you don't want to be told what to do not buy a home. that has an HOA. Just don't do it. But do your research, do your homework. I feel like this is my mantra. Every time I do a video, I'm telling you all to just research, homework, all the things. Super, super important. And do not forget, you can also talk to homeowners that currently live within that community and get their feedback on the HOA and see if, what it's been like living within the rules of the HOA. So hopefully these new laws will be popping up more and more around the country, and we can give some relief to homeowners in these HOAs. Thank you so much for watching me today to get your dose of real estate reality. My name is Jackie Baker, and I will see you next time.